Welcome everyone to another episode of 10 Minute Poker Tips. I have a special guest today, Aram Zobian. He is a high stakes crusher. He's been playing poker for quite some time. He's been on all the Poker Go streams as well as playing a whole bunch of the mid stakes. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about how much Aram leans into theory and solvers versus exploitative and how he maybe finds his own way. But thank you for coming on, Aram. Really appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Honored to be here. Always enjoy sharing with the community.
Yeah, so maybe first we can start a little bit about how did you even get into poker?
Yeah, I played cash games first and then fell in love with tournaments. For the longest time, I wouldn't say I didn't study, but I was just playing my own game. And back then the games were a lot softer. So people did not deal with aggression very well at all. In some ways, I look back at those moments and be like, oh, what was I doing so differently? But truthfully, people were just folding overcards and backdoors to see that. And then as the game got tougher, I got more and more into the solvers and studying and maybe suppressed my intuition and my own play style a bit. And now I'm trying to blend both of them and find a good balance.
How long ago did you start picking up solvers?
Say 5 years ago.
Okay, yeah. So you're obviously well studied in the solver realm.
Fairly well, yeah. Not nearly as much as others, but
Yeah.
I like to do other training. Like I'm a big proponent for, let's say, doing a tough workout before you play because it gets the nervous system fired up, and you just handle stress and difficult decisions way better if you do a tough set of squats or you take a run when it's 110 degrees outside. So that's the kind of training I do more than solver work sometimes.
That's great to hear though, because it does really feel like you take a whole body approach, I suppose, right, to poker. It's as if you are prepping as if you're like an athlete preparing for some sort of event, because that really is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's bigger than poker, right? We have one body to take care of, and it's just important to be sharp and have longevity.
Yeah, so when you talked about how it feels like maybe you're suppressing a bit of your instincts and sort of the way that you played while leaning into solvers, tell us a little bit about details on things that you were suppressing specifically.
Yeah, I think that every time we play, we have reads during hands, and it can be a fluid thing. It can be something like my opponent took this amount of time to call pre-flop, and so I think he's shifted a little bit this way based on the variables, because every spot and position is going to be different.
Yeah.
And then once you get to a river, you might be able to 1 and 2, so to speak. Like, I think he was here and now we're at the river, and if I thought he was here in his range, then I think it's more likely that he has this hand class or he has this bluff for this reason. And so if we look at outputs in a solver and we memorize them and we blindly follow them, then it kind of clouds that read.
Yeah.
The tricky part is that there's bias, right? And intuition is not always just this amazing read you have. It's maybe you have an aggressive bias like myself, so you take the aggressive option a lot more often. And there's also confirmation bias. So if you call the river when you felt like you should have raised or folded and you knew you were going to lose, so to speak. Yeah, when you look at the outputs and it gives you a specific answer and you feel like you can't do something in game, it goes opposite to that read and that spontaneity, that freedom to make the play that you deem to be correct in that exact moment.
So how do you then reconcile that? Because I feel like probably with how successful you were even before getting into solvers, like that kind of stuff was working. So now I guess you're looking at a bunch of outputs that are telling you opposite. I don't think you were just like throwing all that stuff away blindly, right?
No, yeah, that's a good question. I think like less is more, maybe spending time away from the phone and meditating and just detracting from the world a bit. Is that the word? Retracting
Yeah.
from the world. And I mean, we see it all the time. Like the gentleman, the legend, Michael Mizrahi, who won the main event, he didn't play a tournament for a while and then came in and won the PPC. And I think Tony Gregg, who finished super deep, he got 11th, I believe. He also didn't play a tournament, or he doesn't play that much. So yeah. I think we oftentimes see guys taking large breaks, and I think it kind of just lets your mind rest, because we live in this age of information and there's so much information overload, and we got Instagram reels and if you're into nutrition and health like myself, you just see a million things in a day, and it's tough to process. So I think there's like a backlog for your brain, and if you take a proper rest, not sitting on the couch and eating chips. But if you're meditating daily, or you're learning and some steps back, I think it can help you to process and culminate all the knowledge you have and use it well.
I personally play way better after I take breaks, and sometimes I think that I'm going to come back and be rusty, but seriously, if I'm forced to take a break for like a month or something, or I like purposely take a break for a month, I come back and I feel like I'm just doing everything better. It is pretty crazy.
Yeah, how would you describe your feelings at the table, like when you come back after that break?
It's almost like I can get into flow states a lot easier. I almost feel like I can see scenarios like clearer. And it probably is some combination of when I'm playing too much, it's just exhaustion and I'm just kind of grinding it all the time. And then when you're just sort of just stuck like in the weeds all the time, just kind of playing, you don't really take it's almost like I feel like I'm taking a step back and taking a breath and just playing with like a clearer mind. And it should actually recommend that I probably take more breaks than I actually should. But yeah, I definitely play better when I take breaks.
Yeah, for sure. And everyone's different. Like that's the thing. Some guys like to play every stop and they're traveling nonstop.
Yeah.
In your case, you like to take breaks and you do better. Who's to say you would make more money if you did play 300 days out of 365? Yeah, there's like a residual burnout when you're playing all the time, and your frustration if you're coming up short and you're not doing that great of a job of handling it. Not in your case. It's just poker's just a tough game. Yeah, it builds up.
Really is. Yeah, I mean, you can almost look at it as maybe you have an hourly or whatever metric you want to track per tournament, right? And you think if I'm just going to literally just put myself 24/7 playing tournaments all the time, I'm going to hit this hourly, but you don't realize that hourly can go down, or actually your hourly might be higher, right? If you're taking like weeks off at a time. So it is really interesting. And, it does feel like there are a bunch of people out there that are on opposite ends of the spectrum and are quite extreme, where they think solvers are stupid and they're super irrelevant to, let's just say I play live tournaments, so I'm never going to look at solvers. It's useless, right? And you have solver people who almost like kind of crap on people who take an exploitative like line that's not solver approved. But it sounds like you found some like happy medium in the middle. So how do you kind of apply that to the different types of tournaments that you play? Because I know that you play a whole bunch of like the nosebleed poker go ones that people don't typically play. But I've seen you and I have played in like a $1,500 WSOP tournament before. So I'm sure you're grinding some of the lower mid stakes ones. So how do you, I guess, like dial things up and down based on like who you're playing against and what you're playing?
Yeah, in the higher stakes, definitely try to just keep my head down a little bit more and focus on the spot and how the spot operates. That being said, I think I've not done a good enough job of that in the mid stakes, and I might go out on a limb too much and not just play the spot as it works out. I'd be lying if I said I didn't, cost myself a lot of money trying to exploit people in some mid stakes tournaments. So I would say it's really important to just know the spot well first. And it's funny how that works. Like you said, the solver guys are kind of thinks the field players are goofy, and then the field players think the solver guys are too rigid and whatever. And it happens in a lot of venues in life, like with nutrition. People think it's one or the other, but yeah, we can blend it together. But I would say for sure knowing the spot is important, and approaching it from an equilibrium, and then making sure to use your reads like towards the end of the hand rather than going gung-ho balls to the wall with a read, because that can be probably the biggest way you cost yourself, is not doing your theoretical analysis. So I mean, in general, if you just play well and not go crazy trying to exploit people, you'll do just fine.
What you're basically saying is make sure that when you're going through your whole list of things to make a decision, taking more of the theoretical stuff and technical stuff up front before you like fall back on a read, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because it can be kind of easy to be like, well, this guy did this pre-flop, and so he has this specific hand, and that's the downfall of being a hand reader or trying to hand read, is you think a little bit less about the range. And it's why you see sometimes, a guy makes an incredible call and he was up against the exact hand that he thought he was, or it goes the opposite way and he was just completely wrong, right?
Yeah, usually you don't see all the times that person was wrong, and sometimes their own like confirmation bias ignores the times, like the many times that they were wrong.
Yeah, exactly. That's what makes it so tricky, right? Someone only has one hand in practice, but if they bet third pot on the river, you only need to be right every so often. So it's going to be difficult to
Yeah.
to make the fold or the call based on the scenario.
Yeah, so for all the people out there that right now haven't really been in the solver streets, or maybe they're even intimidated by technology, how would you recommend they, at least try to get started and they don't get completely left behind, right, by all this technical stuff?
Yeah, I would recommend just asking for help from someone who's maybe you have a friend that's a little better with that stuff, because it can be monotonous, or it can be not that useful of time if you're just kind of clicking through. And for example, if you're going to go into GTO Wizard, there's certain things you can look at, like value thresholds, like how thin am I value betting in this spot, for example. So creating some type of framework that help you learn, rather than doing it just because, oh, I feel like I have to do this, everyone else is doing this, is important.
What I found interesting is that I've learned I'm a better practical learner, and I'm not like that great at just sitting there slogging through videos. Like one of the very first things I ever got was pads on poker, like that fantastic like thing that Patrick Leonard did. And I was really struggling getting through those videos, man. I mean, they were only like 12 or 13 minutes long, very engaging, like really good speaker, but I was like really having a hard time just getting through video after video. I think when I watch really good players analyze like an actual, let's just say it's like a final table, even if it's online, and they're talking through those spots and saying, when this person did this, I would do this or this instead. I'm like, hey, actually I can pay attention to this like way better, right? And also then when I learn about like drills, when I can actually just like go through like a hand scenario that it gives me, and I'm like, oh, pick this spot, right? And they're just like, you've made a huge error. I find that that's like way more engaging for me. So I think maybe, it might be helpful for people to understand that you don't just have to sit there and like slog through different like sims all the time, or just watch video after video. There's like other ways of learning, and like you're saying, also maybe just ask a friend and you can do it a little bit more interactive.
Yeah, when two to come together, it can be a more enjoyable experience for sure. I do like the training videos myself, and just seeing how different people think, it can spark a little piece in your brain, and it goes a long way.
So it sounds like you're also into like a lot of health and nutrition. So tell us a little bit about that. Like, what are you doing there, and then how do you also apply that to the poker table?
Yeah, I'm really into the health for the reason of longevity, and I don't want to be in a wheelchair or bedridden when I'm older. That's really my main focus. But it's funny because some people like eat fried chicken and roll out of bed and like go crush poker tournaments. I'm not like that. Like I want to be feeling sharp, and I do think that the more that we treat our bodies like a temple, the more coherent we can be, and the stronger our reads can be.
So any tips on maybe specific food groups when you're, about to play a tournament, or maybe on your off days, and then like anything like quick and fitness and exercise related they can do?
Yeah, on breaks you can do some light movement, maybe do some like tapping around, do a few push-ups. Food-wise, healthy fats are super important. Like finding a good clean protein bar. There's one I really like. It's called Prima. Like that's the protein bar I've really been enjoying, and it's like tallow, raw honey, like no weird stuff in there. Yeah, it's real good. Like avocado, as few ingredients as possible, because all the processed stuff has some weird chemicals that are potentially messing up your brain chemistry, and that's the opposite of what you want to do during a poker tournament or a cash game session.
Yeah, for sure. Aram, this was amazing. Thank you so much for coming on, man. Love picking your brain. Love hearing that you're not, just like a strict solver person or just like a non-solver person. It looks like you did find a blend and you're finding your way, and it's showing a lot of success. Like when we're following you through your career, it looks like things are working out for you pretty well. So anything you're kind of like working on, coaching, promoting, and anything that would be interesting for the community?
Yeah, I do private coaching. You can reach me I have an Instagram page or through pokercoaching.com, which is Jonathan Little's site, and he's really built it up very nicely. There's a ton of good coaches on there, as well as my videos. And there's also drills through their free trainer. It's called Peak GTO. So if you like the drills, that's a good way to train and get better at the game.
All right. So Aram, thank you again so much for coming on, man. Really appreciate you. Hope we can get you back on again. Maybe, we'll see you kind of go really deep in a tournament somewhere, and then we can bring you on for some hand analysis. I'm sure people would love to hear how you blend a little bit of that GTO knowledge with your exploitative skills and actual hand analysis.
Yeah, it'd be my pleasure. Thanks so much, Derek.
Thanks, man.